Captain Dongwu stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance, staring at the darkness outside. 3 years had passed since the Zorathians came to Earth. 3 years since they started killing everyone he had ever known. The ship moved slowly through, empty space far from any star or planet. This was how they had to live now, always hiding, always running. The bridge was quiet except for the soft hum of machines. Dongwu looked at his crew. These people were all that remained of Earth's mighty space navy. 847 souls on one damaged ship. That was all humanity had left to fight with. Haye Jin worked at her station near the back of the bridge. She was the ship's engineer, the person who kept everything running. Her hands moved quickly over the controls as she checked the ship's systems. Dongwu trusted her more than anyone. She had saved them all many times by fixing things that should not have been fixable. "Captain," said Taemin from his seat at the communications station, "I'm getting something. It's very weak, but it's coming from Earth." Dongwu felt his heart jump. They had not heard from Earth in 6 months. The last message said the Zorathians were hunting down the final groups of humans hiding in underground shelters. "Put it through," Dongwu ordered. The message was full of static and hard to understand, but the voice was clear enough. It belonged to Dr. Boram, one of the few scientists who had survived the first attacks. "This is Dr. Boram calling any human ships. We are running out of time. The Zorathians are preparing for something big. They call it the final cleansing. Our sources say they will kill everyone left on Earth within 1 week. I don't know if anyone can hear this, but if you can, please help us. There are still 50,000 people alive down here. Children, families, good people who don't deserve to die. Please, if there's anyone out there, we need you." The message ended. The bridge stayed quiet for a long moment. Dongwu closed his eyes. 50,000 people. It was not many compared to the 8 billion who had lived on Earth before the war. But it was still 50,000 human lives. 50,000 people who would die if nobody helped them. "Captain," said Jiho, the ship's pilot, "Earth is 12 days away at maximum speed. Even if we left right now, we'd get there just in time to watch them die," finished Yunsu, the weapons officer. Dongwu opened his eyes and looked at his crew. These people had followed him for 3 years. They had fought impossible battles and survived when they should have died. But this was different. This was not about survival anymore. "Haye Jin," he said. "How are those upgrades coming along?" Haye Jin looked up from her work. For months, she had been working on captured Zorathian technology. She had found ways to make their weapons stronger and their shields better. It was dangerous work. Zorathian technology was not made for human ships. "The new weapons are ready," she said. "The shield modifications are working, but I don't know how long they'll last in a real fight. And the quantum device, it's finished. But Captain, if we use it, there's a good chance it will destroy our ship too." Dongwu nodded. He had expected that. Nothing good came easy anymore. "What about the Zorathian fleet around Earth?" asked Sung Ho, the tactical officer. "Last intelligence report said there were over 200 ships." 237, said Taemin, checking his records, including 12 heavy battle cruisers and the flagship of Admiral Vextar himself. The numbers were impossible. 1 human ship against more than 200 Zorathian warships. It would not be a battle. It would be suicide. Dongwu walked to the center of the bridge. He looked at each member of his crew. These people had become his family over the years. He had watched some of them grow from young officers into experienced warriors. He had held others as they died from Zorathian weapons. They deserved better than this. "I won't order anyone to come with me," he said quietly. "But I'm going back to Earth. Those people down there are counting on us. They're the last of our kind, and if we don't try to save them, who will?" Mi Young, the navigator, spoke up. "Captain, even if we could somehow win against those odds, what then? Where would we take 50,000 people? We don't have any safe colonies left." "Maybe we don't," Dongwu admitted. "But maybe that's not the point anymore. Maybe the point is that we try. Maybe the point is that we don't let our species die without fighting back." Kyung-soo, the medical officer, stood up from his station. "I've been thinking about this since we got the message," he said. "My sister was on Earth when the attack started. She had 2 kids, a boy and a girl. I don't know if they're alive, but if there's even a small chance. I understand, said Dongwu. Nari, the science officer, looked at her instruments. Captain, I've been studying the Zorathian attack patterns. They always do the same thing. They surround a planet, cut off all escape routes, then attack in waves until nothing is left alive. But they have one weakness. They don't expect anyone to fight back once they show overwhelming force. What are you saying? I'm saying they won't be ready for us. They think all human military forces are dead. They think Earth is defenseless. We might be able to use that against them. Dongwu felt a small spark of hope. It was not much, but it was something. All right, he said. Let's put it to a vote. All in favor of returning to Earth? Every hand on the bridge went up. Not quickly, not easily, but they all went up. Dongwu felt proud and terrified at the same time. These people were willing to die for strangers they had never met. That was what it meant to be human. Taemin, send a message to Dr. Boram. Tell her help is coming. What should I tell her about our chances? Dongwu thought for a moment. Tell her that Earth's last ship is coming home. Tell her to keep those people alive for 7 more days. Tell her that humanity is not finished yet. As the Defiance changed course toward Earth, Dongwu wondered if he was leading his crew to their deaths. Probably. But he also knew that some things were worth dying for. And the last 50,000 humans on Earth were definitely worth dying for. He looked out at the stars ahead of them. Somewhere out there, Earth was waiting. The planet that had given birth to humanity was now its grave. But maybe, just maybe, they could change that. The ship jumped to faster than light speed, racing toward a battle they could not win. But they would fight it anyway, because that's what humans did. They fought even when there was no hope. They fought because it was right. Behind them, empty space closed in where they had been. Ahead of them, 237 Zorathian warships waited around a dying world. The Defiance flew on, carrying the hopes and dreams of a species toward its final stand. The Defiance dropped out of faster than light speed at the edge of Earth's solar system. Captain Dongwu stood on the bridge, looking at the sensor readings that showed his home system for the first time in 3 years. What he saw made his blood run cold. Earth hung in space like a wounded animal. The blue and green planet he remembered was now brown and gray. Massive scars covered the surface where Zorathian weapons had burned away forests and boiled oceans. The beautiful world that had given birth to humanity was dying. Around Earth, the Zorathian fleet waited like vultures. 237 warships formed perfect attack formations. Their black hulls reflected no light, making them look like holes cut in space itself. At the center of the fleet sat Admiral Vextar's flagship, a massive ship twice the size of the Defiance. My God, whispered Taemin, staring at the display. What have they done to our world? Dongwu felt anger burning in his chest. But he kept his voice calm. Focus on the mission. We're here to save lives, not mourn the dead. Jiho worked at the pilot station, studying the enemy fleet positions. Captain, I can get us closer using the asteroid belt for cover. Jupiter's radiation will hide us from their long-range sensors. But once we're in the inner system, they'll see us coming. How long do we have before they detect us? Maybe 20 minutes if we're lucky. Dongwu nodded. 20 minutes to figure out how one ship could fight 200. It seemed impossible, but they had done impossible things before. Hyejin looked up from her engineering station. Captain, the new weapons are ready to fire. The quantum device is charged and waiting for your order. But remember, once we use it, there's no going back. Understood. Yun-Su, what about our regular weapons? The weapons officer checked her displays. We have enough ammunition for maybe 30 minutes of heavy fighting. After that, we'll be down to energy weapons only. 30 minutes. Against 200 ships. Dongwu had faced bad odds before, but never anything like this. Captain, said Nari from the science station, I'm detecting human life signs on Earth. They're concentrated in 3 main areas, all underground. The largest group is in what used to be New York. That must be where Dr. Boram and her people are hiding. Can we contact them? Taman shook his head. The Zorathians are jamming all communications to the planet, but I might be able to punch through with a narrow beam transmission. Do it. While Taman worked on the communication link, Dongwu studied the enemy fleet. The Zorathians were confident. Their ships moved in slow, lazy patterns around Earth. They had no doubt that they were completely safe. After all, who would be stupid enough to attack such a massive fleet with just one ship? I've got them, said Taman. Dr. Boram is receiving. Put me through. The screen flickered, then showed the face of Dr. Boram. She looked older than Dongwu remembered. Her hair was gray now, and deep lines marked her face. Behind her, he could see other people crowded into what looked like an underground bunker. Captain, Dongwu? She said, hardly believing what she saw. You came. You actually came. We're here, Doctor. How many people do you have with you? 47,000, spread across the 3 sites. But Captain, the Zorathians have scheduled the final attack for tomorrow morning. They plan to use orbital bombardment to collapse all our shelters at once. Dongwu felt his heart sink. Tomorrow morning. That gave them even less time than he had hoped. Doctor, I need you to be ready to evacuate at a moment's notice. When the shooting starts, get everyone to the surface as fast as you can. Evacuate to where? Captain, there are no ships down here, no way to escape the planet. Let me worry about that. Just be ready. Before Boram could answer, alarms started blaring. On the Defiance's bridge, Sung-ho looked up from his tactical station with fear in his eyes. Captain, we've been detected. The entire Zorathian fleet is moving to intercept us. On the main screen, Dongwu watched as the enemy ships changed formation. They moved like a school of fish, all turning at once toward the Defiance's position. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Incoming transmission from the Zorathian flagship, said Taman. Put it through. The screen changed to show Admiral Vextar himself. The Zorathian commander was tall and thin, with dark skin and 4 arms. His black eyes showed no emotion as he stared at Dongwu. I am Admiral Vextar of the Zorathian Imperial Fleet, he said in perfect English. You are Captain Dongwu of the human vessel Defiance. I know who you are. You have been running from us for 3 years. I know who you are too, Admiral. You're the one who ordered the murder of my people. Vextar's mouth moved in what might have been a smile. Murder? No, Captain. We are simply removing an inferior species that has no place in this galaxy. Your people expanded too fast, consumed too many resources, showed no respect for other life forms. You had to be stopped. And the children? The families? What threat were they? Children grow up to be adults. Adults make more children. The only way to be certain is to eliminate all of them. Dongwu felt his anger growing, but he forced himself to stay calm. Admiral, I'm prepared to make you an offer. Let the remaining humans leave Earth peacefully. Give us ships to carry them to a distant world where we won't bother anyone. In return, I'll surrender the Defiance and my crew. Vextar actually laughed. You think you are in a position to negotiate? You have 1 ship. I have 237. You are surrounded and outgunned. Why would I accept your offer when I can simply destroy you and proceed with the cleansing as planned? Because it would be the right thing to do. The right thing? Vextar leaned forward. Let me show you what I think of your right thing. The screen changed to show the surface of Earth. Dongwu watched in horror as Zorathian shuttles landed near the entrance to one of the underground shelters. Soldiers poured out, dragging human prisoners with them. Dongwu recognized some of them from Dr. Boram's research team. No, he whispered. Your species showed no mercy when you stripped the life from entire worlds to feed your endless expansion. Vextar continued. You showed no mercy to the beautiful creatures you drove extinct. Why should the superior Zorathian race show mercy? To inferior vermin like you? On the screen, Zorathian soldiers lined up the human prisoners. Men, women, children, all of them terrified but trying to be brave. Dr. Boram was among them, her head held high even as she faced her death. Admiral, please, Dongwu said. These people have done nothing wrong. They exist. That is crime enough. Vextar gave an order in his own language. The soldiers raised their weapons. "Wait!" Dongwu shouted, but it was too late. Energy beams cut through the prisoners. One by one they fell. Dr. Boram was the last to die. She looked directly into the camera as the beam hit her, as if she was looking right at Dongwu. The screen went dark. Dongwu stood on his bridge, surrounded by his shocked crew. 10,000 human beings had just died while he watched. 10,000 people who had trusted him to save them. Vextar appeared on screen again. "That was for your right thing, Captain. Now you will watch as I kill the rest of them, one shelter at a time. Unless, of course, you would like to surrender and die quickly." Dongwu looked at his crew. They were all staring at him, waiting for his orders. These good people had followed him across the galaxy. They had trusted him to make the right choices. Now he had to choose between saving them and avenging the dead. He thought about Dr. Boram's face as she died. He thought about the children in those underground shelters. He thought about the 8 billion humans who had already died because the Zorathians decided they didn't deserve to live. When Dongwu spoke, his voice was quiet, but everyone on the bridge could hear every word. "Admiral Vextar, you asked me why you should show mercy to humans. You're right. You shouldn't, because we're going to show you what happens when you don't." He turned to his crew. "All hands to battle stations. Target their flagship first. Show them what humans do when you back us into a corner." The Defiance powered up its weapons and raced toward the Zorathian fleet. One ship against 237. The odds were impossible, but sometimes impossible was exactly what humans did best. The first Zorathian ships to die never saw what killed them. The Defiance moved through space like a ghost. Heejin's modifications had changed everything about how the ship worked. The engines ran quieter than any human ship had ever run. The Giesma hull absorbed scanner beams instead of reflecting them. Most importantly, the new weapons hit harder than anything the Zorathians expected. Captain Dongwu watched from the bridge as his ship cut through the outer edge of the enemy fleet. 2 Zorathian destroyers exploded in brilliant flashes of light. A third lost power and drifted helplessly as its crew scrambled to fix the damage. "Direct hits," reported Insu from the weapons station. "Their shields collapsed completely. I don't think they were expecting weapons this powerful. Keep firing. Target the ships closest to Earth first." Jiho worked the pilot controls with the skill of someone who had been flying in combat for 3 years. The Defiance twisted and rolled through space, avoiding the massive energy beams that the Zorathian ships fired at them. Most of the shots missed by hundreds of kilometers. The enemy gunners had never fought anything that moved like this. "Captain," called Sung Ho from Tactical, "the main fleet is changing formation. They're trying to surround us." On the main display, Dongwu could see the Zorathian ships moving into new positions. Admiral Vextar was not stupid. He had realized that this would not be an easy fight, and now he was bringing all his ships to bear on the lone human vessel. "Mi Young, take us toward the asteroid belt. Use the rocks for cover." The navigator's hands flew over her controls. "Understood, Captain." Course plotted. The Defiance raced toward the cluster of asteroids that orbited between Mars and Jupiter. Behind them, 200 Zorathian warships gave chase. Energy beams lit up space as they fired again and again, but the human ship was always somewhere else when the shots arrived. "Hull breach on Deck 7, reported Kyung-soo from his medical station. 4 people injured, but the emergency shields are holding." Dongwu nodded. They were taking damage, but not as much as they should have been. Hyejin's work was keeping them alive. The ship dove into the asteroid field, weaving between rocks the size of mountains. Most of the Zorathian ships had to slow down to avoid collisions, but not all of them were careful enough. Dongwu watched as one enemy cruiser smashed into an asteroid and broke apart. "They're not used to fighting in fields like this," observed Nari from the science station. "Their ships are built for open space combat." "Good, use that against them. Yunsu, target any ship that gets too close to the asteroids. Make them crash." The weapons officer grinned. "With pleasure, Captain." For 20 minutes, the Defiance played a deadly game of cat and mouse among the asteroids. They would appear from behind a rock, fire at the nearest Zorathian ship, then disappear again before the enemy could respond. Slowly, the odds began to change. 30 Zorathian ships had been destroyed or disabled, but it could not last forever. "Captain, we're running low on ammunition for the main guns," Yunsu reported. "Maybe 10 minutes left." At the same time, Hyajin called from engineering. "The modifications are starting to fail. The hull can't take much more stress and the power systems are overloading." Dongwu felt his heart sink. They had done better than anyone had a right to expect, but the enemy still had over 200 ships. When their ammunition ran out, the fight would be over. "Nari, what about that quantum device? Is it ready?" The science officer checked her instruments. "It's charged and waiting. But Captain, once we activate it, the energy feedback will probably destroy our ship, and I'm not even sure it will work. We've never tested it on this many targets." "How does it work?" "It creates a cascading failure in Zorathian shield systems. Their ships all use the same type of energy field for protection. If we can overload one ship's shields, the effect should spread through their fleet like a chain reaction." Dongwu thought about it. One weapon that could take out the entire fleet but would also kill everyone on the Defiance. It seemed like a fair trade. "How long do you need to set it up?" 5 minutes, maybe less." "Do it." As Nari worked on the quantum device, the battle continued around them. The Defiance emerged from the asteroid field and raced toward Earth. The Zorathian fleet followed, their ships forming a tightening circle around the human vessel. "Captain, incoming transmission from Admiral Vextar," said Taman. "Put it through." The Zorathian admiral appeared on screen again. This time, he did not look quite so confident. His forearms moved nervously and his black eyes showed anger. "You have fought well, human," he said. "Better than I expected. But this ends now. Surrender, and I will make your death quick." "Not interested, Admiral, but I have a counteroffer for you." "Oh?" "Leave Earth. Take your fleet and go home." "Never. Come back to this system. Do that and I'll let you live." Vextar stared at him for a moment, then burst into laughter. "You let me live? You have one ship, Captain. One damaged ship against my fleet. What makes you think you can threaten me?" Dongwu smiled. "Because I know something you don't." "And what is that?" "Humans don't know when to give up." The transmission ended. On the bridge, alarms were sounding. The Zorathian fleet had them completely surrounded now. There was nowhere left to run. "Device is ready," Nari announced. "But Captain, I have to warn you, this will kill everyone on the ship. Are you sure about this?" Dongwu looked around the bridge at his crew. These people had followed him for 3 years. They had fought impossible battles and survived when they should have died. Now he was asking them to die for strangers they would never meet. "Anyone who wants to leave can take a shuttle," he said quietly. "I won't think less of you." Nobody moved. "Captain," said Jiho, "we took an oath to protect humanity. Those people on Earth are the last of our kind. If we don't save them, who will?" "Besides," added Yunsu, "where would we go? This is our home system. This is where we make our stand." Dongwu felt proud and heartbroken at the same time. These were the best people he had ever known, and he was about to get them all killed. "Nari, how close do we need to be to their flagship?" "Within 10 kilometers for maximum effect." 10 kilometers. Dongwu shook his head. "At that range, even a child could hit them." "Jiho, can you get us that close?" "I can get us there, Captain. Getting away afterward might be a problem." "Don't worry about getting away. Just get us close enough." The Defiance began its final approach toward Admiral Vextar's flagship. The massive Zorathian ship sat at the center of their fleet, surrounded by layers of protective vessels. Getting close would mean flying through the heaviest concentration of firepower in the galaxy. "All ships concentrate fire on the human vessel," came Vextar's voice over the comm channels. "I want it destroyed immediately." Space around the Defiance erupted in energy beams and explosions. The ship's shields flared and sparked as they absorbed hit after hit. Hull plating began to peel away. Internal systems failed one by one. Shields down to 30%, called Hyjin. Hull breaches on multiple decks. We're losing life support in sections 4 through 7. "Keep going," Dongwu ordered. "We just need a few more minutes." "Captain, I'm reading massive power. Fluctuations from the quantum device, Nari reported. If we don't use it soon, it might explode on its own. The Defiant shuddered as another barrage of enemy fire hit them. Warning lights flashed red across the bridge. In the distance, Dongwu could see Admiral Vextar's flagship growing larger in the view screen. Distance to target? He asked. 15 kilometers and closing, Jiho replied, fighting to keep the ship on course as explosions rocked them from all sides. 12 kilometers. Another hit. This one took out the main engines. The Defiance began to drift. We're dead in space, Jiho announced. It doesn't matter, said Dongwu. We're close enough. Nari, activate the device. The science officer's hand hovered over the activation switch. Captain, once I push this button, we have about 30 seconds before the ship breaks apart. Do it. Nari pressed the switch. Deep in the heart of the Defiance, ancient human science met captured alien technology. Quantum fields collapsed and rebuilt themselves. Energy that had no name poured through the ship's systems. 30 seconds, Nari called out over the growing noise. On the view screen, Admiral Vextar's flagship was so close they could see its individual weapon ports. The massive ship was firing everything it had at them. 20 seconds. The Defiance's hull began to crack. Atmosphere vented into space through dozens of holes. 10 seconds. Dongwu looked at his crew one last time. It's been an honor serving with all of you. 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. The quantum device activated. The quantum device exploded inside the Defiance like a small star being born. Captain Dongwu felt the ship shake apart around him as energy beyond human understanding tore through the hull. The bridge lights went out. Consoles exploded in showers of sparks. Emergency alarms screamed until the power systems failed completely. But the device was working. On the main screen, which flickered and sparked but somehow still functioned, Dongwu watched as something impossible happened to the Zorathian fleet. Admiral Vextar's flagship, only 8 kilometers away, suddenly went dark. Its shields collapsed in a cascade of blue light. Then the ship next to it suffered the same fate. Then another. And another. It's working, Nari gasped from her broken console. Blood ran down her face from where a piece of flying metal had cut her. The quantum resonance is spreading through their shield network exactly like I calculated. The effect moved through the Zorathian fleet like a wave. Each ship that lost its shields caused the failure to jump to nearby vessels. Within minutes, dozens of enemy warships were drifting helplessly in space, their protective fields completely gone. But the Defiance was dying too. Hull breach in engineering, Hyojin reported over the internal comm. Her voice was strained. I'm trying to keep the reactor stable, but I don't know how long I can hold it together. Do your best, Dongwu replied. Around him, half his bridge crew was injured. Kyungsu moved from station to station, trying to help the wounded, but there were too many of them. Captain, Taemin called out. His communications equipment was mostly destroyed, but he had managed to patch together something that still worked. I'm intercepting Zorathian transmissions. They're in complete panic. Most of their ships have lost shields, weapons, or both. On the view screen, Dongwu could see the proof of their success. Zorathian ships collided with each other as their navigation systems failed. Some exploded when their power cores overloaded. Others simply went dark and began drifting toward Earth's gravity well. But Admiral Vextar's flagship was still fighting. The massive Zorathian command ship had managed to restore partial power to its shields. Its weapons were still working, and now all of them were pointed at the broken remains of the Defiance. Incoming transmission, Taemin announced. Admiral Vextar appeared on the flickering screen. The Zorathian commander no longer looked calm and confident. His dark eyes burned with rage, and his forearms moved frantically as he shouted orders to his crew. You have destroyed my fleet, he snarled at Dongwu. 200 ships gone because of your cursed human technology. But you will not live to celebrate your victory. Dongwu tried to speak, but found he could barely breathe. The bridge atmosphere was getting thin as air leaked out through dozens of cracks in the hull. My ship may be dying, Admiral, but your fleet is already dead. Look around you. Vextar's image flickered as more systems failed on both ships. It does not matter. I still have enough power to destroy you, and once you are gone, I will use my remaining ships to complete the cleansing of Earth. Every human in those underground shelters will die." "No," said Dongwu. "They won't." "And why is that?" Dongwu smiled, even though it hurt to do so. "Because I'm not done yet." He looked at Nari, who was still working at her damaged console. "The quantum device. Can we overload it completely?" The science officer understood immediately. "If we push all our remaining power into it, yes, but Captain, the explosion will be enormous. It will destroy both our ship and theirs." "Will it be big enough to damage his other ships?" "Any vessel within 50 kilometers will be completely destroyed." Dongwu looked at the tactical display. Admiral Vextar's flagship was surrounded by at least 30 other Zorathian ships, all of them trying to protect their commander. "Do it, Captain. That will kill everyone on our ship instantly." "I know." Dongwu activated the ship's internal communication system. His voice echoed through every corridor and compartment of the dying vessel. "All hands, this is the captain. In 60 seconds, we're going to overload the quantum device. This will destroy our ship and take Admiral Vextar with us. I want everyone to know that you are the bravest people I have ever known. Earth's children will remember what we did here today." Responses came back from all over the ship. Not complaints or fear, but messages of support and determination. These people understood what they were dying for. "Haye Jin," Dongwu called to engineering. "Give me everything you've got. All power to the quantum device." "Understood, Captain. It's been an honor." The lights on the bridge grew brighter as every bit of energy from the ship's dying reactor was channeled into Nari's weapon. The quantum device began to sing with a sound like crystal breaking. 30 seconds, Nari announced. On the view screen, Admiral Vextar realized what was happening. "No, you cannot do this. I am Admiral Vextar of the Imperial Fleet. I command 200 ships." "You commanded 200 ships," Dongwu corrected him. "Now you command nothing." The Zorathian admiral screamed orders at his crew, trying to get his ship away from the Defiance, but his engines were damaged, and there was not enough time. 15 seconds. Dongwu thought about Earth hanging in space behind them. Somewhere down there, 37,000 humans waited in underground shelters, not knowing that salvation was coming at the cost of every person on this ship. 10 seconds. He thought about his crew, the best people he had ever known, dying for strangers they would never meet. 5 seconds. He thought about Admiral Vextar's words. "Your species showed no mercy." Maybe that had been true once, but it was not true anymore. 3, 2, 1. The quantum device exploded with the force of a small nuclear weapon. The Defiance simply ceased to exist, torn apart at the atomic level by energies that should not have been possible. The explosion engulfed Admiral Vextar's flagship. The massive Zorathian command ship, which had terrorized a dozen star systems, broke apart like a toy. Vextar himself died in the first microsecond, vaporized along with his entire crew. The blast wave expanded outward at nearly the speed of light. 31 Zorathian ships were caught in the explosion and destroyed instantly. Another 47 were damaged so badly that they would never fight again. When the light faded, the Zorathian fleet was finished. Of the 237 ships that had come to destroy the last humans on Earth, fewer than 50 remained. Most of those were drifting helplessly, their crews dead or dying. The few Zorathian vessels that could still move began to retreat. Their admiral was dead. Their fleet was broken. The humans they had come to exterminate had fought back with a fury that defied all logic. On Earth's surface, seismic sensors in the underground shelters detected the explosions in space. The humans hiding there did not know what had happened, but they could feel the ground shake as pieces of destroyed spaceships began falling from the sky. In the deepest shelter, an old man named Kang Ho looked up at the rocky ceiling and whispered a prayer. "Whoever you were up there, thank you." Above them, space was full of debris, pieces of Zorathian ships mixed with fragments of the Defiance, all of it glowing as it fell toward Earth's atmosphere. It would burn up harmlessly, creating the most beautiful meteor shower anyone had ever seen. The last transmission from the Defiance reached Earth's surface 3 hours after the battle ended. It had been sent automatically when the ship's final systems failed, carrying a message that Captain Dongwu had recorded before the fighting began. This is Captain Dongwu of the United Earthship Defiance. If you are hearing this, then we succeeded in our mission. The Zorathian fleet is destroyed. Earth is safe. To the survivors in the underground shelters, you are not alone. Somewhere out there, other human ships are coming home. Wait for them. Rebuild. Remember us. But do not let grief stop you from living. The message played again and again, broadcast on every frequency that could reach the planet below. Earth was free. The price had been terrible, but it was free. In the underground shelters, 37,000 humans emerged for the first time in years to see the sky again. They found a world that was damaged, but not dead. Plants were already growing in the bombed-out cities. Animals were returning to the forests. Most importantly, they found hope. The Defiance and her crew were gone, but their sacrifice had saved not just the humans on Earth, but the idea of humanity itself. They had proven that even when facing impossible odds, even when death was certain, some things were still worth fighting for. The Zorathian Empire would remember this day forever. They had come to Earth expecting to destroy a weak and broken species. Instead, they had learned that humans were most dangerous when they had nothing left to lose. In the wreckage floating around Earth, pieces of both fleets mixed together in space. Zorathian metal and human metal, enemy and defender, all of it slowly falling toward the planet below where survivors watched and waited for tomorrow. 10 years had passed since the Battle of Earth, and the galaxy had changed forever. Captain Jaewon stood on the bridge of the UES Dongwu, humanity's new flagship, and watched as his fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel. Around him, 12 human warships dropped back into normal space at the edge of the Kepler system. Each ship carried the names of the crew members who had died aboard the Defiance. Each ship was a promise that their sacrifice had not been forgotten. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission from the surface," reported Communications Officer So Young. "It's from the Kalari government. They're asking for our help." Jaewon nodded. This was why they had come. The Kalari were one of the first alien species to join the Free Species Alliance, the organization that had grown out of humanity's desperate fight for survival. They had been fighting Zorathian occupation forces for 3 months, and now they needed help. Put them through. The main screen showed a tall, thin alien with blue skin and large black eyes. This was Ambassador Veltran of the Kalari Republic, one of the few government officials who had escaped when the Zorathians invaded their homeworld. "Captain Jaewon," the alien said in accented but clear English, "thank you for coming. We did not know if the Alliance would be able to send ships." "The Alliance always keeps its promises, Ambassador. What's the situation on your planet?" "Bad. The Zorathians have taken control of our major cities and are rounding up our people for processing. We estimate they have killed 2 million civilians in the past month alone." Jaewon felt the familiar anger building in his chest. It was the same anger that had driven Captain Dongwu and his crew to sacrifice themselves 10 years ago. The Zorathians had not learned anything from their defeat at Earth. They were still killing innocent people because they believed other species were inferior. "How many Zorathian ships are in the system?" 43 warships, including 2 heavy cruisers. "But Captain, there is something else you should know. They are commanded by Admiral Kethvar." Jaewon knew that name. Kethvar had been Admiral Vextar's second-in-command during the attack on Earth. He had survived because his ship had been on patrol in another system when the Defiance destroyed the Zorathian fleet. Since then, he had risen to become one of the Empire's most important military leaders. "Understood. We'll handle it." The transmission ended, and Jaewon turned to his crew. These people were not the desperate survivors who had crewed the Defiance. They were well-trained officers from the rebuilt Earth Defense Force, equipped with the best ships and weapons humanity had ever created. "Tactical, what do we know about Kethvar's fleet?" Lieutenant Commander Yejin checked her displays. "Standard Zorathian formation, but they've made modifications based on what happened at Earth. Better shields, improved point defense systems. They won't be as vulnerable to our quantum weapons as Vextar's ships were." That's fine. We've made improvements too. Over the past 10 years, human engineers had studied every piece of Zorathian technology they could find. They had learned from the debris of the ships destroyed at Earth, and they had captured more examples during raids on Zorathian outposts. Most importantly, they had shared this knowledge with their alien allies. The Free Species Alliance now included 17 different races, all of them united by their hatred of Zorathian oppression. The Novans provided advanced computers. The Thek contributed powerful energy weapons. The Kalari had developed new shield technologies. Together, they had built a fleet that could fight the Empire on equal terms. "Captain, incoming transmission from the Zorathian fleet," So Young announced. "Put it through." Admiral Kethvar appeared on screen. Like all Zorathians, he was tall and thin with dark skin and 4 arms, but his eyes showed intelligence and caution that Vextar had never possessed. He had learned from his predecessor's mistakes. "Captain Jawan of the human fleet," Kethvar said, "I know who you are. I know why you are here, but this time will be different. I have studied the battle recordings from Earth. I know how your quantum weapons work. My ships are prepared for them." "Maybe they are, Admiral, but you're forgetting something important." "And what is that?" "We've been preparing too." Jawan nodded to his tactical officer. 12 human ships opened fire at once, but not with the quantum weapons Kethvar expected. Instead, they used a new type of energy beam developed by Thek scientists and powered by human fusion reactors. The Zorathian shields, designed to resist quantum attacks, offered no protection against this completely different form of energy. 3 enemy ships exploded immediately. 2 more lost power and began drifting. "Impossible," Kethvar snarled. "Where did you get those weapons?" "From our friends." "You remember friends, don't you, Admiral? Those are people who help each other, instead of trying to kill each other." The battle that followed was nothing like the desperate fight at Earth 10 years before. This time, humanity was not alone. This time, they were not outgunned. The Alliance fleet moved with perfect coordination, using tactics developed by combining the military knowledge of 17 different species. Kalari ships attacked from above, their advanced shields allowing them to absorb massive amounts of damage while their crews targeted enemy weapon systems. Novan vessels used their superior speed to dart in and out of the Zorathian formation, striking weak points and disappearing before the enemy could respond. Thek heavy cruisers provided devastating firepower that could punch through any defense, and at the center of it all, the human ships fought with the controlled fury that had become their trademark. They had learned to channel their anger into precise, effective violence. They no longer fought just to survive, they fought to win. "Admiral Kethvar's flagship is trying to escape," reported Yejin. "Should we pursue?" Jawan thought about it. 10 years ago, Captain Dongwu had offered Admiral Vextar a chance to leave peacefully. The Zorathian commander had chosen to kill innocent people instead. Kethvar had made the same choice by coming here to murder the Kalari. "Target their engines. Disable them, but don't destroy the ship. I want to talk to the Admiral." The human flagship's new weapons reached across space and surgically removed the Zorathian command ship's ability to run away. Kethvar's vessel went dead in space, completely helpless. "Open a channel." The Zorathian admiral appeared on screen again. This time he looked defeated. His forearms hung at his sides, and his black eyes showed something humans had rarely seen from his species: fear. "What do you want?" he asked. "I want you to listen, Admiral. 10 years ago, your people came to Earth and tried to wipe out my species. You killed 8 billion innocent people because you thought we were inferior. Do you remember what happened next? Captain Dongwu and his ship destroyed our fleet." "That's right. 1 ship against more than 200. Impossible odds, but he won anyway. Do you know why?" Kethvar said nothing. "He won because humans don't know when to give up. We fight even when there's no hope. We fight because some things are worth dying for. Your people never understood that." Jawan stood up from his command chair and walked closer to the screen. "But here's what's changed, Admiral. 10 years ago, we were alone. Today, we're not. 17 different species have joined the Alliance. Do you know what they all have in common?" "What?" "They all hate you. Every one of them has lost people to Zorathian cleansing operations. Every one of them wants revenge. But we've convinced them to try something different, which is justice instead of revenge. We're going to put you on trial, Admiral. You and every other Zorathian commander who has committed war crimes. You'll have lawyers. You'll have a fair hearing. You'll have all the rights you never gave to the people you murdered. Kethvar stared at him. And if we are found guilty, then you'll be punished according to Alliance law. Prison for most of you. Execution for the worst cases. And if we refuse to surrender? Jaewon smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Then we'll do what Captain Dongwu did. We'll fight until you're all dead or you change your minds. The difference is this time we have enough ships to win without dying in the process. The Zorathian admiral looked around his bridge at his defeated crew. His flagship was disabled. Most of his fleet was destroyed or captured. The Kalari people were cheering in their cities as Alliance troops landed to free them from occupation. I surrender, he said quietly. Smart choice. As Zorathian, ships began powering down their weapons and preparing to be boarded. Jaewon thought about the crew of the Defiance. 847 people had died to save 50,000 humans on Earth. Their sacrifice had started something much bigger than any of them could have imagined. The Free Species Alliance now protected over 300 billion sentient beings across 50 star systems. The Zorathian Empire, which had once seemed invincible, was falling apart as more and more worlds rebelled against its rule. Civil wars raged across Zorathian space as different factions fought for control of what remained. But the most important change was not military. It was moral. The Alliance had proven that different species could work together. They had shown that strength came not from oppressing others, but from protecting them. They had learned that diversity was not a weakness to be eliminated, but a strength to be celebrated. Captain, So-Young called from her station. We're receiving a message from Earth. It's from the Memorial Committee.